Sent from Disneyland, history in our hand. So much to say about yesterday and the decades we have spanned. Postcards from the park, this journey will embark. See what has changed and what remains on Sent from Disneyland. Sent from Disneyland.
Welcome to the Sent from Disneyland podcast.
Here age relives fond memories of the past.
If it's your first time joining us, welcome. On this podcast, we'll take a journey into the past and explore Disneyland, Disneyland history, and more, with mementos, snapshots, souvenirs, and postcards sent from Disneyland, from 1955 to the present. Let's start by thanking my patrons from patreon.com. You can join in at any level to support the show and receive snail mail from my trips to Disneyland and from my desk, plus some sneak peeks and bonus content. Special thanks to Random Olive, the first patron to this podcast, and to the rest of the e-ticket patrons, Tania, Eric Daniels, Monica Seitz Vega, Scott Cagle, Russ Romano, Michael and Christina Cross, and Sheila Harry. C-ticket patrons Serious Inquiries Only, Debbie Weinstein, Jennifer Schneep, Angela Reynolds, Grace Coate, Patty Wolin, and Ben and Noel Bruning. B-ticket patron Joshua Bell, and to the A-ticket patrons Elise Sharp, Zealot Infinity, Alexis Robles, Angel DeBlock, and the Beyond the Railroad podcast. I am your host, your post-host Clocky, and today we have 2 postcards sent from Disneyland. The front of our first postcard has the E.P. Ripley Disneyland Railroad engine pulling into Main Street Station. Below it is a floral Mickey Mouse, and under that are posters for various Disney attractions. In the upper right-hand corner it reads, "Greetings from Disneyland." On the back it reads, "Guests entering the Magic Kingdom are greeted by a floral Mickey Mouse and the Santa Fe and Disneyland Railroad Depot, where a scaled-down model of a passenger train of another era puffs out of the station to take them on a scenic tour of Disneyland." It's postmarked August 29, 1967, with the Buena Park cancel and a 5-cent gray George Washington postage stamp, Scott number 1213. I assume they visited the park on Monday, August 28, 1967, when park hours were from 9 a.m. to midnight. The weather was a high of 95 and a low of 68. It's addressed to Mrs. Mary Plato of Pleasanton, California. It reads, Monday. Hi, Mom. Well, here we are at Disneyland, having a good time. It was very hot today, 103 degrees. Had a good trip to New Jersey, although it was hectic. Cherry says hi. Love, Tom. One of the books I use often for episodes is Disneyland, The Nickel Tour, a postcard journey through half a century of the happiest place on earth. This book was on my desk after coming home from a long week on the road. I thought it would be exciting to go through some of the fun highlights this book has to offer. 2 editions of this book have been made, the first with a maroon cover, published in 1995, and the second, the blue cover, published in 2000. The book was written by Bruce Gordon and David Mumford and includes a checklist and historical guide by Roger LaRocque and Nick Farrago. The cover of my copy is blue and includes a postcard image of Sleeping Beauty Castle at night with Tinkerbell holding a magic wand and flying over the castle. Following an introduction, there are 9 chapters and an index contained in the book. In the introduction, one of the first images includes a photo of Walt standing with his daughter Sharon looking through postcards of Disneyland. This is somewhere in an outdoor shop and includes a rack of postcards with oversized postcards and standard postcards. The second image in the book shows Walt standing in front of an information booth near the Bank of America building on Main Street. These are on the first 2 pages introducing the book. The introduction has a brief overview of what the book is about and speaks a little bit of collecting postcards and how they were able to logically number the postcards through the years. This includes an acknowledgement of Vernon Orr, whose collection was used to start the complete checklist and historical guide, as he had collected all of the postcards from opening day through 1979. There are also acknowledgments for the help from Imagineers, members of the Disney Company, and others who helped in making the book. Add some flair to your mail by checking out stamps at Enfield Post. You can explore different stamp options on our Etsy site, grab some great deals by following the EP Sunday Sales on Instagram, or create something special and have her design a stamp array for your invitation or celebration. You can head over to EnfieldPost.com and explore all the different vintage postage stamps you can use on your next card or letter. That's ENFIELDPOST on Instagram and EnfieldPost.com for your wedding and vintage postage needs. Enfield Post is the official postage stamp sponsor of the Sent from Disneyland podcast. The front of our next postcard has fireworks over Sleeping Beauty Castle. You can see guests on the drawbridge pointing towards the Matterhorn and likely Tinkerbell flying through the sky. On the back it reads, Fantasy in the Sky. Brilliant Fantasy in the Sky fireworks burst over the Disneyland castle every summer evening as part of the show in Disneyland After Dark. It's postmarked July 21st, 1970, with a Los Angeles cancel and a 5-cent blue George Washington postage stamp, Scott number 1283. I assume they visit the park on Monday, July 20th, 1970, when park hours were from 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. The weather was a high of 86 and a low of 64. It's addressed to Play School Inc., attention S. Stevenson, of Chicago, Illinois. It reads, 7/21/70. Hi everyone. Arrived here Saturday after a beautiful plane flight. Disneyland is simply fantastic. There are no words to describe it. I'll sure hate to come home. It's so beautiful here. Barbie Miller. Continuing in the book, following the introduction is a chapter filled with images of every Disneyland postcard from 1955 through 1999. There's even a spot for a postcard that was supposed to come out in 1995, but by 1999 the postcard still had not been released, and as far as I know, this Indiana Jones and the Temple of the Forbidden Eye postcard was never available to the public. Throughout the chapters are various articles highlighting either little-known attractions, special events, or information about specialty series or collections of postcards. At the end of every chapter, there's a full index of the postcards shown in that chapter, with a brief description, their serial number, and any number or distinction listed on the back of the card, usually in the box where you put the postage stamp. Some of my favorite collections that are highlighted through the book include the Art Corner postcards and the lenticular 3D postcards, which were available in the park in the mid-60s. There's even a special section for Epcot postcards, as well as some postcards made for the 1964 World's Fair. The final pages of the book include what they think a 100 Disneyland birthday celebration postcard would look like. The authors of the book, Bruce Gordon and David Mumford, have bios on the back flap of the dust jacket, reading, Bruce was lucky to visit Disneyland the very first summer it was open, but unfortunately he was too young to remember anything about it. Luckily, countless visits to the park have since refreshed his memory. Bruce joined Walt Disney Imagineering in 1980 and has contributed to a wide variety of projects at Epcot, Disneyland, Tokyo Disneyland, cyberspace, and beyond. David grew up fascinated with Disney, glued to his set on Sunday nights, watching The Wonderful World of Color. Living in South Pasadena made it easy for his family to visit Disneyland at least twice a year. David worked his way through college as a Disneyland submarine voyage ride operator, and upon receiving his degree in architecture, he joined Walt Disney Imagineering in 1979. David has contributed to projects for Disneyland, Epcot, Tokyo Disneyland, and Tokyo Disney Sea. Unfortunately, no further editions of this book have been available as both authors passed away, David in 2003 and Bruce in 2007. The publishing company who produced this book, as well as a few other books on Disney-related topics, closed sometime after 2007. My incoming postcard is sponsored by the Art Throwdown. Art Throwdown, or ATD, is a craft hour on Instagram, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern or 6 Pacific. Art Throwdown is a wonderful community of artists who love to share their craft, from creating sticker postcards and coloring techniques to intricate paper cutting and unique crafting. It's always a treat to watch a show and occasionally get some one-of-a-kind postcards from the group. Each host brings something a little different to each show. I'll list some of the regular hosts, or you can follow Russ Romano 2021 on Instagram. The front of my incoming postcard reads, Happy October 1st, World Postcard Day. Circling those words are different mailboxes and postal drop-off boxes from around the world on various postage stamps. It's postmarked October 1st, 2024, World Postcard Day, with a Baltimore, Maryland Thinking of You cancel and a Purple Worm Dungeons & Dragons Forever postage stamp, Scott number 5918. It reads, Dear Clocky, hi, happy World Postcard Day. I'm Leah from Maryland. I've never been to Disneyland but would love to go sometime. My favorite Disney character is Elsa. Do you recommend Disneyland or Disney World first? Take care, Leah. Thank you so much for the postcard, Leah. I've thought a lot about this question, and where I generally do prefer Disneyland, I have a new response for the question of which park to visit first. I suggest visiting Disneyland first, as chronologically, it was the first. This is the same way you'd watch a movie or television series. Starting with the first of the series, having been to different Disney parks and different amusement parks, it's always fun to find out the history of where they all began. I think back to the special episode I did 2 years ago for Great America, and how much more enjoyable it was to walk around and look at the history and origins of that park that are still present today. Also, this is my first US Dungeons & Dragons stamp, which is a really unique stamp series this year. I'll also give a shout out to Leah and to what should be our continuing effort to get a post-crossing stamp here in the US. Other countries have really fun post-crossing stamps. It would be great to have one of those for sending out international mail. Thanks for listening to Sent from Disneyland. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and tell your friends. It would also help to leave a 5-star rating and comment on whatever podcast platform you use. If you'd like to support the show financially, please check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/sentfromdisneyland. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Sent from Disneyland, or my website, sentfromdisneyland.com. For questions and comments, send me a postcard addressed to Sent from Disneyland, P.O. Box 44, Hood, California, 95639. This podcast is not affiliated with Disney, the United States Postal Service, or any post office or Disney-related properties. Opinions expressed on this podcast belong to the host and guests of the Sent from Disneyland podcast. This podcast is produced and edited by Clocky McDowell, website designed by Misty McDowell, theme song was written and performed by Noah Sunday Lefkowitz. Take it away, Noah.